Woodburn, who is the leader of the Democratic leader of the Senate. Jeff is, this is his country. This is where he comes from, the North Country, and I think that he has a story about that effort to try to bring that the Ballstones back to life up there. But also, it'd be interesting to hear his perspective on the legislature, and also, you know, talk about some of the challenges that the North Country is currently facing. The mill, possibility the mill will be going down over in Berlin with the few hundred jobs that are left up there. I'm not sure that's going to survive. But I did, Jeff was kind enough to drop by. He's at another meeting around the corner. So thank you so much, Jeff, and it's all yours.
Tom Bucco, for your hard work, especially on the Ballstones bill. We are actually in an unincorporated town, a very successful one, and it's hard not to be inspired by the landscape that we welcome you to. But as you all know, beyond those landscapes are people that are struggling to get by. We have a great mixture of wealth and poverty in the North Country, and it's a reminder of the important work that all of you do. I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for what you do as labor leaders, and it's important work. 6 months ago, I went to my Democratic Senate caucus as the parochial North Country Senator, mostly focused on issues of minor importance to the state, but major importance to my region, and became the compromise candidate to lead our Democratic caucus, and I was honored and privileged to do that. But it just sort of shows that in life sometimes you can't predict what's going to happen, and what you see in front of you doesn't always come through. When I first ran for state senate, I needed a little attention, so I entered a pie eating contest, and no one was in this category. I thought I had a good shot of winning and good publicity, so I got up there, and the last minute the organizers pulled up a thin, young woman to run against me. And I still felt pretty confident. They put the pies out in front of us, and it started, and before I knew it, I had pie all over me, and she was done, and the hands were up, and they were cheering, and the crowd was moving away, and I turned in disappointment and disgust and defeat, and I heard a little kid tell his mother, "I can't believe the fat guy lost." That happens in politics every day. I want to thank Mark McKenzie. You know, I've been around labor. In the North Country, Labor, Democratic Party, they're hand in hand. There's a union between us that we never knew there was, outside of the North Country, there was any difference. But Mark has been doing this job, and I remember the breath of fresh air when Mark was first elected way back when. And I also remember the trust that 19 years ago, when I was a young upstart and wanted to be Democratic Party chair, that it was the AFL-CIO and Mark McKenzie that took a chance on me, and I appreciate that today, Mark. Thank you. I also learned later on in my life, as I became a teacher late in life, thought I brought a lot of skills and talents to that position. And I quickly learned the importance of the NEA, the EFT here as well, but my local was the NEA, as a teacher in the North Country, and how valuable a job is, and how important that job is, but also how small you are sometimes in a process. And I went through a few grievances, and we won them all, but it made me that much more committed. Not only do unions need to protect people who are doing the hard, dingy work that we remember of our past, my family's past, but as we go further along, unions are that much more important for state employees, for, we were learning about the pharmacists who can't go to the bathroom because their minute is so valuable, $120,000 starting wage. Unions have a place to play in every place, and I know it in my heart because I lived it. I felt that lack of dignity that comes with people who have control over your life. What I've been thinking about, I turned 50 this year, and I'm a local amateur historian I write for the local paper, and for several years I've written little tidbits from the Berlin Reporter, what happened each 10-year interval for the last 60 years. When you're doing this from Berlin, it draws a pretty disturbing picture. And you think about what happened. You think about 1965. I know, looking over this crowd, that there's nobody in this room that could remember 1965, so except for the good former senator from District 2. But think about it. Think about 1965. Think about what life was like. Think about the progress that was made, many by Democrats, Labor, some Republican friends. 1965, what life was like if you were the civil rights, what if you were of color, if you were a woman, if you wanted to have your own reproductive rights, if you were gay, if you were disabled, lucky enough not to be in an institution. Think about our environment, spewing stuff into the river, into the air. The smell of Berlin was famous. Think about consumer protection, how far we've come to protect people. Think about the safety net built by Franklin Roosevelt, the New Deal, and how that was tightened in the 60s. Think about Medicare, Medicaid. Think about how we take care of our elderly people today versus years ago. Think about the poor and how much progress we've made in giving them comfort. Think about the handicapped, the elderly, the children. Think about that safety net that was built between 1965 and today. But we're not done, we're far from it. One group, life is worse today than it was in 1965. I know you'll know the answer to this one. Which group? Is life worse today than it was in 1965? Working families. Low and middle income working people. And that's a failure of the Democratic Party. It's a failure of progressives. It's a failure of all of us because we have lost focus. We became a collection of many good interests, valuable, important interests, but we've left one important foundation of who we are as a Democratic Party, who you are as labor leaders. And if you measure that loss and the standard of living of how far that dollar went in 1965 versus today, think about how many hours you had to work to fill your gas tank up, put oil in your tank. And I'll share one statistic, and I have to read this because I can't believe it's true. And people have challenged me on this. In 1952, the average mill worker in Berlin worked 5 weeks to send their kid to Plymouth State. If they worked another 10, they could send their kids to Harvard. 10 weeks. Today, the average employee in Coos County makes $20,000 a year, give or take. Almost the same as the cost of tuition to go to Plymouth State College. So that's the problem. That's what we're up against. You're going to hear today from Bernie say nobody speaks with greater passion and accuracy on this issue than Bernie Sanders. But that's the work that I think we need to be focusing on, because what I see in my communities is that a lack of stabilization. You need decent, steady work, predictable health care, maybe a savings account, maybe a vacation, maybe hope. Because if we don't give people the basics, believe me, I have to look beyond my own family, that the devil haunts a hungry man. And we see it every day. Kids are dropping in Whitefield, my hometown, from heroin. Because where's the hope? And that's the business that we're in. We're in the business of hope. And if people don't have hope, we know what's going to happen. But I think there is hope. I think there are good things happening. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've experienced it. You look around, you see the income equality debate. It's everywhere. People are getting it. It's not, someone asked me about Bernie Sanders. It's not the extreme left that's worried about income equality. It's everybody. I think it transcends politics because people know our economy is broken. It's not working. And it's costing us a fortune. We're investing on the wrong end. We're doing a lot of harm. We've also seen, this organic union movement from, 20 market basket. And amazing to see people come together without the tinsel of unions, but certainly in their heart, they were organizing to do something good for their community, and they made a difference. They gave us hope. Fairpoint is another example. You know, that was almost an impossible effort. And you know, I'm sure like all of you went to the lines and you saw the thumbs up and the beeps, and you were encouraged by that, but you wondered if it's just random. And we thought, how will this thing end? What a great result it was. And I know Glenn Brackett is here, and he held his union together, and he's a tough negotiator and smart tactician. And I'll never forget, because the Senate has a little bit more time to introduce bills, it came to me and said, will you introduce this bill modeled after Seabrook in the days of PSNH, when they thought they might go bankrupt and that we would be stuck, their valuable assets would be tied up in bankruptcy, and they wouldn't be able to deliver what we need in our state. They said, can you do the same thing for Fairpoint? I said, sure, I'd be happy to. And we introduced legislation, and within hours, the lobbyists for Fairpoint were there, out of their mind. And eventually, as we kept this process going, it warmed my heart like you wouldn't believe. And I loved saying no to Glenn Brackett on the day when he said that this became part of the negotiations at the table. And we finally got this thing done because the state of New Hampshire was going to hold them accountable. And they said, can you please withdraw this bill? And I said, be happy to, as long as the structure says. But it's not just big things. I see my great friend Wayne Altarizio, and I've had to practice that name all the way over, Wayne, and Bill and Terry, who came up and we did a postal tour, and I knew nothing about it. People said, why are you, a state senator, doing a postal tour? And, you know, we had a great day. And, you know, those little things make all the difference. Letter carriers with a lifeline to so many families in my district, showing up at their door, looking to see if they're still alive or dead, that somebody cares. And, you know, I tell that story all the time now. Whenever I see a postal employee, I think about what they do, that they make money, and they're being harassed by people. And before I took the tour, I didn't know you made money. So thank you for that. And I also want to say, you know, something about the iron workers in Berlin, the biomass, because there's a great story there. It's a great story because we're building a lot of stuff in Berlin. We built two prisons, are federal in the state, and we built a biomass. We have a great contrast of with union built versus non-union built. And there's kids' lives that are changed because of the iron workers, their apprentice programs, and all the work they do there. And you know, Sean Clare, we even got him to buy a house in Berlin, and I hear him talk, I think he's a little bit of a French accent in there. So we're making progress on it, but that's changing people's lives. And you know, I just want to thank you for what you do, and know that this is the issues that we talk about, and you can give us some flexibility when we need it, but you know, we can win the governorship, we know that. We can win the House, but the Senate is the tough one. That is where business is saying, we'll stop anything you can do with the Democratic governor and the Democratic House. But we need to change the Senate. And to change the Senate, we need to get Democrats elected from districts that aren't Democratic. And that's the challenge. So we need your flexibility. We need your coordination. We need to keep doing the work that we're doing. And you know, unions, AFL-CIO, always have an open door. And we need to do a better job. I realize that. We need to be in communication with you folks. We need to have a coordinated effort. And we're working very hard to do that. But I want you to know that the door is always open, but what's in the heart and what the value of unions are and what they do for people, my own personal family, my own work. I appreciate what you do. You bring dignity, voice, and hope to people, and we need a lot more of it today. So thank you very much.